Yeah, I did this. I did this. Bless up to Epidemic Sound. Yeah, buddy. Yeah, buddy. Bless up. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Got an interesting one today. Interesting one today. Very interesting one today. Perceptions and patterns. Whew, let's talk about it, people. Yeah, so listen, I want to keep these short and sweet. Short and sweet specifically. 10 minutes and under. Uh, so keep it to the point. So this topic is based on two things. Based on experiences I had when I was writing my book Heal.Thy.Man Method, in combination with an experience I had with a very sacred journey recently. And the combination of the two, well, first the sacred journey. Uh, in this journey, the experience was that I was holding on to a father figure, or an authority figure, and they let me go. And one of the words I vividly remember in the journey were that my perception is clouding, or like specifically, he said, my perception of abandonment is clouding my connection to them. And when I talk about them, how I interpret it is, whether it's father, but like a higher purpose, a higher self, like a part of self that's elevated, right? So when I started really dissecting that, I looked at this whole topic, and I realized that this is an important conversation for men. And listen, anybody, this is an important conversation for everyone. And I'm directing this at men specifically, because our perceptions can create patterns, which leads me to a part of the book that I'll get to. But our perceptions can create patterns that can either keep us stuck or help us elevate. So I'm going to go over three topics, or three things that will help you break the cycle. But before we do anything, I gotta have you may have yet to know. I like to have a definition of things, so we all have a base, right? So I'm going to address the perception first, because I think that's the more important one. So by definition, a perception is a lens through which we see the world, and it's usually based on our experiences, trauma, conditioning, programming, a whole bunch of goody goods. All right, a whole bunch of stuff. Now, when we look at a pattern is repeated behaviors that reinforce our perceptions. Okay, this is important. This is why I was like, perceptions and patterns. It's important here. Let's pay attention, my guys. So here's how this came up for me, and how I recognized this whole concept, right? I started to see, when I looked at a perception recently, like something that came through when my shaman was going over my experience, and like the follow-up and all that stuff. One of the things he asked was that, abandonment has come up in both of your journeys, and how is that showing up in your life? And I was like, damn, son, what's with the questions? But I was so happy that he asked me that question, because it gave me an opportunity to really take a step back and be an observer and really look at things. So what I began to understood from that prompt from the shaman is, if my perception is from an abandonment standpoint, and in relationships specifically, my perception is, if someone pulls away, they're going to leave me. All right. Now here's the pattern I create from that. The pattern I create is that I stay too long in a relationship or in a situation. I'd overcompensate, or I'd sabotage before they can leave. So I'll basically wreck shop. Okay. Now there was another perception that came through, but I want to get to what the passage and the breakthroughs, right? So one of the things I wrote in, listen, if you haven't yet to get a copy, pick this up. I'm telling you, a lot of things I experienced in life, I found this place to be able to share what I learned from it, so that people can make new experiences, have new choices. So here's the thing. When tapping into awareness of patterns, it's important to continue as an observer of the past. This topic is another key to stepping into the arena of life. The battle self, because if you were to defeat any opponent, a key piece is knowing your opponent's patterns, right? Think about that. Like if you're scoping something out, you gotta have strategy. And even like when this is recorded, this is a Super Bowl, that day of the Super Bowl. Okay. Now each coordinator is like looking like, yo, what's our strategy? What's the patterns of our opponent? Right. Now, if you look at this, what are their go-tos when things get dire? Right. When you're looking at a pattern, what are the go-tos when things get dire? Going on with this excerpt, we are by nature creators of patterns and habits. Humans want efficiency, efficacy, and familiarity. The more we make a pattern, the stronger the pattern becomes. From a scientific perspective, when we as humans perform a pattern, a neural pathway is created. When a pattern is repeated, that pathway gets stronger. So everyone has a pattern they revert to in various life situations. This is important to note because when we look at this, identifying a perception, and Neville Goddard would call this an assumption. I can look at something and be like, okay, this is what I'm seeing. And is that true? Is that true? When we can step back, I'm going to speak from the I here because this is from my experience. I'm sharing this so like maybe you'll get something from this. When I take a step back and I look at the situation, I'm able to break the cycle. And this is what prompted this, because as much as I care for this person, it was time for me to break the cycle because I was feeding the cycle. I was overcompensating in a situation that like, yo, this is going nowhere. This is the same pattern. But before I'd be like, no, I'm going to make this work. No. And then I'm back in the same situation. So here, listen, let's get to it because I want to keep this under 10 minutes. So let's get to some steps to break in the cycle and how you examine your perception. So these are some things that I experienced here that I think are going to be helpful to you. Take some, leave some. The first step, identify your core perceptions. What? Yes. What does that mean here? If you're curious about what the heck that means, here's a question you can ask yourself. What is a belief that I hold about myself, about relationships, about career, about life, about men, about women, about whatever it is in your life? I'm detached. This is a question to help you identify your core perceptions. Okay. Step 2, trace the pattern it creates. How do you do that, Paul? I'm glad you asked. You ask yourself this question. What behavior or habits come from this belief? Remember before, my perception was, hey, listen, this person's just shifted up a little bit. They're about to leave. So I create a pattern to either sabotage or overcompensate. Okay. That's where this comes in. Like, trace the pattern that this creates. Once you've identified the pattern, right, or that it created, now you challenge and shift your perception. Three questions here. First one, is this perception true? Is this person really going to leave? Is that the truth? Question number 2, what would happen if I saw this situation differently? What? What are the possibilities? You may hear that in coaches. What's possible from this space aside from what you're assuming or your perception? Here's question number 3 right up in this piece. How can I create a new pattern that serves me? This is a rewiring. If you're watching the content, you go back. Like I talk about rewiring. I know transformation is like the buzzword, and bless up to it. And I'm a big believer in rewiring, starting to be able to see things differently, see outside of the perceptions that can get you locked into a pattern of just going to overcompensate, like how I said in relationship in my abandonment situation. So what do you do in this situation? Well, I'm glad you asked. And with this, identify your core perception you have about yourself or relationships or whatever the heck it is you want to address. And then you can, if you'd like, you can drop it in the comments or journal about it if you want to like take time. And then Like, share, and subscribe to the channel. This is for this channel is specifically going to be for men's content, how you elevate. This is about self-awareness and fulfillment, about bliss, contentment, like really being on purpose. So there are going to be some things to help you really look at yourself, man. Stop bull stuffing yourself. Let's get to it, man. Let's get to it. So listen, there's some upcoming lives. I'm most likely going to be doing these on Sundays, like a Sunday service or sermon, whatever. It's not going to be, it's going to be free of being religious. Yet it's going to be something like every week you could tap into, something to work on during the week. So bless up to you all. Thank you for tuning in. And listen, hop on the book. If you have yet to get the book, I'm seriously I a lot of times I'm free of really sharing or really talking myself up, but I'm like going back over passages and I'm like, I channeled this thing. Heal.Thy.Man Method. Bless up. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Also, listen, if you're looking for health and wellness content, check out this More Than Black or White Health podcast. Thank you, thank you, thank you all for being here. Until next time, peace.